Today on Bock Chicken Fantasy, we're going through Underdogs' projected point totals for wide receivers and finding out round by round where the value is and where we should draft people. Let's snap into it. Well, just like the quarterback and the running back chart we had, this is the wide receiver chart. This is the most surprising, if you want to call it that, jaw dropping. And I'll show you. I have an extra little section down below here that we didn't do on the first two that I think will convey this much better for you. But unlike the quarterback and the running back, the first 4 rounds for both of those were like almost an equal tier. Not very much drop, not much drop off whatsoever. It was maybe a point, a fraction of a point, at most maybe a point and a half, per game, which it's significant, but not that much, by comparison. It's almost 3 points from round one to round two and selecting a wide receiver. And from there, it just goes off a cliff. I expect that maybe that's why wide receivers are pushed up so much this year. So there's a couple different ways to take the data, and I have an overall chart that once we get through tight ends, we'll compare all four side by side to maybe have a better idea of where we should select players in each round. But the wide receivers actually start with a higher overall between running back and wide receiver average. So I think the running back was somewhere in 13 and a half, and this is 14.07. So in round one, the wide receivers are better draft for that reason, but also when it falls to round two. Now, when you see this and it says, minus 2.61, okay, so minus 2.5 points a game. Okay, hey, so what? Okay, running backs and quarterbacks, it was like a 3% drop off, maybe max 6% drop off, like between round one. Let me show you. It is an 18.6% drop off from round one just to round two. The quality that you get is almost 20% less. That is insane. So if you're taking a running back in round one, it better be CMC, right? And let's face it, you don't choose CMC. CMC chooses you, all right? If you get in round one, if he drops to maybe second pick, maybe third pick if you're lucky. Otherwise, if you're round one, first pick, he chooses you. You don't choose him. But it's almost 20%. And it's worse from there. Because by round three, and this is per Underdog. Underdog has set what they believe the range is, for each of the wide receivers, and I've just averaged it. It is Cliff City by like round 7, 8. It's almost 50% of the player. Like, you're not even getting half of what you would get in round one. So you can see that in two different ways, because you saw the running back. It was pretty stable for like the first 4 rounds, and it didn't fall off much until, I would say you're still pretty stable. Like, you're getting at least 10% of what you get in round one to 15% through like round 7. You're almost 50% by round 7. There's a slight tick up in round 8, but it is, you can either take that as, hey, I need to draft a couple, RBs, a couple early rounds. But the way I take it is, your wide receivers are absolutely off a cliff. You need 3 when you're doing best ball on Underdog. So you probably should get a wide receiver because the predictable outcome of them is just, it goes away really quick. So in the first, second, third, fourth round, probably should be wide receiver. And then that actually kind of makes sense because when you got to like round 5, for running back, you actually saw some value drop. You could get, an ETN dropping to round 5. You could get someone else. Or there were some pretty decent running backs in round 5 that was like only like a 14% drop off rather than just a 1 round. Like, it took roughly what it takes between the wide receiver on round 1 and round 2, which is almost 20%. It took almost 4 to 5 rounds for the quarterback and running back to achieve the same thing. So I think that lends more credence to having wide receivers early because that projected outcome or predictable outcome just goes away. So with that being said, I really wanted to emphasize this. We can kind of look at some of the players. Again, everyone has their own kind of speculation on each player. And we can look at, like in round one, I mean, most people who do basketball and fantasy in general know who's in round one. But we can look at it, take a gander, see, and then, you can have your speculations about it, but just have a better understanding of like where everyone's at and maybe why, and especially like when you get to, around this range here, goes from 60, 50, and back to 60. So, like, do you agree that, how Underdog has maybe the people in round 7 predicted lower than who's in round 8? So, we'll kind of take a peek real quick at it and just take a gander. So, round 1, you got all the big hitters, your CD Lamb, Tyreek Hill, and me personally, I'm fine with almost anyone in round 1. The only one I would probably say I have an exception to is probably Puka. And don't get me wrong, I love Puka, absolutely love him. He recently got hurt, so that probably obviously makes people not like him as much. I actually last year on Underdog had 60% of Puka because I heard the report at one point where. I knew that Cooper Kupp always ate with Matt Stafford for breakfast, but then I saw that Puka was joining them, and I saw another thing where when they were like doing the preseason games, that Puka was like always next to Kupp, and he was like pointing stuff out and like really taking him under his wing, and I was like, okay, this guy's gonna be awesome. And so part of that's just luck, So he was like my last pick in every single Underdog draft that I was doing. So I love Puka, but I just feel like Cooper Kupp had started the season and he had that ankle injury, so it was nagging him before he even started, so he could never really be 100%, and obviously he got hurt. I still think he's wide receiver 1, so you're getting a really good discount on Cooper Kupp. He should probably be like round 2, but he falls into round 3, or sometimes I've seen him slide to 4. So with that being said, again, not trying to get too deep into this, but totally agree with most everybody. Round 1, round 2, kind of feel the same. The only people I'm a little down on that I feel like you could replace and switch between different rounds is Nico Collins, Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs. Because even though last year, like, Tank Dell and Nico Collins were, they were really good. They smashed, right? That no one expected that. At least I didn't expect that. But now that the Diggs is there, I don't know how that's going to look. We can all predict it, try and go, hey, you'll see a lot more Collins, and and Dell will get his, and then Diggs will get what's left. But he's kind of a drama queen, so I don't know how much that's going to play into him, like wanting to, be a ball hog, and maybe he gets more. I don't know what that looks like, so I actually fade them most of the time personally. That's not a good take. I know some people are like, what are you talking about? It's crazy. That's just me personally. I just don't want to take the risk of the random weak spikes between those 3 guys. But to each their own. Let's see here. Malik Neighbors, awesome. Devonta Smith, awesome. Metcalf, awesome. DJ Moore. And DJ Moore, I kind of feel the same way. It really depends on how high you are on like the Bears and Keenan Allen and a Doomsday and how much they're going to pass the ball, right? So not fading those guys, but I am more caution. And they're going later, so, I mean, some of them are in the same round, but a lot of those guys, you can get the Keenan Allen later, you can get a Doomsday later, so I like them a little bit more. Let's see who else. Love Mari Cooper, Pickens. I mean, some of these guys, like, again, 4 and up, I feel like that's all the same kind of tier. Obviously, besides round 1, but like 2 through 4, probably about the same. I agree with most of these guys being where they're at, and I think that they're a good value, and I love drafting all of these guys in different, quantities and matches up. But with that being said, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. If you like this, please thumbs up, subscribe. If you want more content just like this, more charts like this, breaking down information, anything you do or don't like, please leave a comment explaining it. If you have any questions, something you would want me to do a video on, I would love you to put a comment down below, and I would be more than happy to do it. Thank you so much.